Did they make
No,
contact?
no. It's pretty close, but this is going to be a drag race.
Look at this.
Moves him to win it. Carl Edwards bump and dump and run.
Here comes Gordon right up to the bumper again.
You hear that wheel spin, Ben?
Yeah, I did hear that wheel spin.
The bump and run.
There it is.
Gordon underneath to the lead. 2 laps to go. But the bump and run is going to get Jeff Gordon the checkered flag at the end of the winless streak. Gordon wins the Sharpie 500 at Bristol.
And Maine really turned around, made a Reilly's cage up.
Welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I'm your host, Michael D. White, joined by my two best friends, Matt, the Statman Reilly, and Daytona Ron. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you had a Martin Truex Jr. type of weekend. He was the big winner down at the Blue-Emu Maximum Pain Relief 500 in Martinsville. And if you're enjoying the show, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Podcast available on all podcast platforms every Monday night. Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and more. And every Tuesday morning video available on YouTube. I know Daytona Ron's got some shout outs to give.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to my New Jersey boys, Billy, Lance, and Matthew America. Thanks, boys, for tuning in and watching and always spreading the word for us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Eric, are they MTJ fans?
Yes, actually, Billy is an MTJ fan. Yes, he is.
Having a hell of a weekend then.
Shout out
Thanks
to
for
Billy.
listening, boys.
Shout out to Billy. I'm sure he's having a great weekend with that MTJ win. If you're enjoying the podcast, share it with your friends like our buddies down in Jersey listening. And make sure to give us a follow at Bump and Run Pod and bumpandrunpod.com for all the details. So we got the big winner, Martin Truex Jr. out of the way, but I want to know, how was your weekend? How'd you spend the rain delays waiting for the races to start?
Taking one too many shots at our favorite establishment, Douse's. Shout out to Douse's Suds and Grubs once again.
Matt, the
Waiting
stat
for
man,
that thing to
bellied
get
up at
started
the bar.
Yeah, waiting for that thing to get started on Saturday night. It finally did get started, and then 40 laps into it, we were shut down again. But nonetheless, had a great weekend. Made for a laying low type of Sunday to watch both races yesterday. So good weekend, boys.
Oh yeah, nice little Sunday recovery with Xfinity Series and Cup Series in the same day. How about you, Daytona? How'd you fare?
Well, it was a nice day on Saturday here in Pennsylvania, so I decided to clean the garage, a little spring cleaning, get the garage all tidied up, get ready for those summer races and parties in the garage. So brought the TV out there and hopes that we were going to get a good night race and hopefully drink plenty of beers and shoot some darts while watching the race. But that got cut short, but the darts and the beers did not. Like Matt said, Sunday was a perfect day for the doubleheader to lounge around and do nothing and nurse that hangover from the night before. But all in all, it was for a rain delay. It was a good weekend of racing.
Oh yeah, I was right on the same train. Had some silver bullets flowing through my veins all weekend long. Had a little rough one today at work on a Monday. Drank a little too much yesterday. Of course, we had doubleheader action. Let's start with it all. Xfinity Series racing under the lights Friday night. We got a couple laps in, then a delay with rain. And I'm not sure, is this the first time that there's ever been an Xfinity Series race and a Cup Series race technically simultaneously happening in the same weekend? Because, we start the Cup race on Saturday, and then we had an Xfinity Series race in between the beginning of the Cup race and the end of the Cup race. Do you think that's ever happened in history before?
Oh, you're talking about like we started an Xfinity race, didn't finish it, started a Cup race,
Yeah.
didn't finish it, restarted the Xfinity race, and then the Cup race. I didn't even think about that until right now, that's how it went down this weekend.
I think it might have been a first. I don't know. What'd you guys think about the Xfinity Series race, Matt? I know you were watching Friday night and Sunday afternoon. Your boy Josh Berry for Junior Motorsports won. What'd you think about that?
I was actually relieved on Friday night when it got rained out because I was dozing off and Josh was leading.
Yeah.
And I just kept telling myself, like, I don't want to miss him win this thing. Like, I know it was still early in the race, but obviously they came back yesterday and he won. And Josh has an awesome story. So I'm super excited. Of course, Junior Motorsports, I'm all about that. So I was super excited for him. He's had some bad luck this year. He's had 3 DNFs. he's finished like 91% of his laps this year, but he still had 3 DNFs, which tells me that he's towards the end of races, he's getting knocked out of these races, and he finally put it all together yesterday. One thing I did hear is that he's going to be on the Dale Jr. download as the guest this week. So I would suggest people definitely tuning in to hear his story. It's a really, really good one. Makes you want to root for him even more. He was a grassroots guy, super talented late model driver for Junior Motorsports. And Dale finally gave him the nod this year for a handful of races, and he's taking full advantage of it. And it's a super cool story.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that Dale Jr. download this week. Of course, listen to it after you listen to the Bump and Run podcast.
That's right.
I may be biased, but this podcast takes priority to Dale Jr. I'm just saying. But yeah, he definitely has a real interesting story. Like you said, started out for Junior's late model team. And one of those guys Junior took a big chance on this year because they really didn't have the funding to run that car. He just kind of believed in Josh Berry's talents and everything like that. And yeah, Junior kind of getting emotional for Josh Berry's win. If you saw that on Twitter,
his raw emotion just sold me on Josh Berry. Seeing Junior that way, that just tells me everything that I need to know about Josh Berry. And to second you, Whitey, like seeing him do that, like I'm already on board with Josh Berry, and like I can't wait to listen to that podcast and really, dive deeper into his story.
Yeah, he speaking of Whitey, you touched on his sponsorship and the struggles to get it for him.
Yeah,
Marcus Lemonis, man. I mean, I'm gonna.
He's doing so much for the sport.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this
amazing.
The podcast checkers as a whole. Marcus Lemonis stepped up and tweeted out, Josh Berry, I'm gonna sponsor your car. I'm gonna put Camping World on your car for Talladega, and if you win, I'm giving you 4 more races guaranteed.
Yeah,
he does stuff like that.
That would be amazing.
That's the coolest thing. It's guys like him that keep our sport alive.
He really is. And you want to know what? When it comes to just like CEOs of a company and everything, like he is doing everything right when it comes to maximizing your name in the sport. Like a lot of people don't want to invest in NASCAR because maybe they find it a little outdated and everything. Marcus Lemonis should be used as the blueprint for sponsorships in the series, in trucks, and how to maximize just getting your own product's name out there. I mean, how many of us know Camping World because of NASCAR and, their involvement with the truck series and all that stuff. So I think he's doing a phenomenal job. I hope for Josh Berry, he wins at Talladega. I want to see that Camping World paint scheme out on track. And I think it would be absolutely amazing for him. I mean, he's running part-time right now, and I would love to see him run full-time next season. Maybe even in a cup car. There's been some rumors swirling about Junior Motorsports starting a Cup Series team, so we'll see what happens there. Maybe they'll address that on the podcast this Wednesday.
I'd be in for a huge conundrum if that happened, because my allegiance to Hendrick Motorsports. This is news to me. If that's true, that's awesome.
Junior always wanted to start a Cup team, from my understanding, and I read it on Twitter where he went back and forth with someone saying that with this new next gen car coming out,
it might be the time.
Or it might be the time because he could afford it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and just the money wise. So it is the gears are churning in Junior's head as far as a Cup team goes, and with this new car coming out and how streamlined it is to make these smaller teams easier and cut money and costs, he did throw it out there as a possibility.
That's super interesting.
Maybe,
I didn't know that. I thought I was dialed into everything Dale Jr., but I did not know that. That's pretty cool.
That was just yesterday.
Yeah, in your defense, it came out late yesterday.
Did it?
So,
okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, the gears are turning, and that's the whole reason why we're moving to this next gen car is to entice new ownership opportunities and
ownership and different OEMs too.
Yeah. So we'll talk about Rick Ware Racing a little later on, but maybe Junior could get a charter from them.
Sure.
It would probably be put to better use. Josh Berry winning the Xfinity Series race, not the only thing that exciting that happened in the Xfinity Series weekend. Did you guys hear about the fight with Greg Galding and Joe Graff Jr. in the garage later on after the race?
This is the most
Oh,
I've
yeah.
heard of either of those two guys my entire life.
I've heard their names. I couldn't tell you where
I
they
thought they were
finish every
older.
week.
To be honest with you, I didn't know that they were both 22 and like 21 years old. I thought
Oh,
Greg
yeah.
Gulden was like one of those like old fat dudes that just like
I
runs
thought
down
so.
the back.
I thought so too.
It's like, oh
He's
yeah,
not,
he's good friends with Brendan Gaughan, Gray Galding.
Right,
They're all
yeah,
running in the back
exactly.
together, you know. No, so apparently, so who bumped who? I think Eric, you had a tweet that pretty much summarized the whole thing.
The tweet was absolutely epic. I mean, apparently, this is from Joe Graff Jr. He tweeted.
Now he was the one that was wrecked.
Yes.
Yes.
So he goes, geez, listening to Gray talk on Sirius XM NASCAR.
Yeah.
He talks like he is Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah.
Gray is 38th in points, 0 top 20 finishes, no lead lap finishes.
Rough.
And I'm in his way, ... LOL. So
Wow,
that was
man,
a tweet
that's-
that he sent out, and that's a burn. That
is a major
quality
burn.
trash talking, man. That's quality. That's quality trash talking.
So apparently a lap or a couple laps before in the race, Galding, bumped him, and there was a little bit of bumper banging going on throughout the race.
I mean, it's
And
Martinsville. What do you expect?
Yeah, and that's what he kind of said. Hey, short track racing, it is what it is. And he just kind of said, hey, he's not going to carry it on. It's going to move to, it's not going to carry on to the next week or any other part of the race season. It's short track racing. That's according to what Galding said. And like, I kind of agree with it. Tempers flare. That's kind of what he said. But I just love the burn by Graff there. It was just that was just a good burn.
That is an excellent burn.
Facts don't lie,
I actually heard the Gray Galding interview on Sirius XM as it was happening with Claire B. Lang. She was doing the post-race show on NASCAR radio there, and he called in, and I was shocked because he admitted it. He goes, oh yeah, I turned him on purpose. I wrecked him on purpose. And even Claire B. Lang was like kind of in shock. She's like, are you really admitting to this? You wrecked him on? He goes, oh yeah, I had an issue with him early on in the race. I wrecked him on purpose. He was in my way. I'm like, I couldn't believe it.
He did tweet out, hey, you say things in the heat of the moment when something just happens. So like, I think in that interview, he kind of retracted on what he said in that interview right after the race. Because, we've all been there in certain situations where you're heated and, stuff comes out that your brain's going, your mouth starts flying. So he did retract on it and say, I shouldn't have said that. And, when you say things in the heat of the moment. And so I don't know. It was just a good NASCAR temper flare. And they went at it.
This is why I love.
Not
short
only
track
were
racing.
tempers flaring, not only were words flying, but fists were flying, and we tend to enjoy that NASCAR. I just think it's crazy. Those Xfinity Series boys have been getting into dust-ups a lot lately. I don't know. I kind of wonder if NASCAR will issue some fines. I guess we'll find out on Tuesday when the fine sheet comes out.
They better stay out of it.
I think they will, because it was in the garage. No one really got involved. It wasn't like a big brawl or anything, but you never know. But speaking of tempers were flaring on Sunday evening after 4 when we got back on track for the Cup Series race. Of course, we touched on Martin Truex Jr. was your big winner, and I called it, baby. I called it last week. Put your money on MTJ. That's the second time I told you bet on MTJ. That's the second time he won. The only 2-time winner of the season so far. If you're placing bets under Michael D. White, you're making money in the Bump and Run podcast, baby. But I just had to mention that in case you're listening later on and you're thinking, oh, I don't know, that pick sounds a little crazy. Trust me, baby. I want to make you some money with this podcast. But what'd you guys think about the Cup race overall? You want to get into the race grades?
Sure do. I'll jump right into it. Highest grade for me so far. Eric, you're always talking about setting the standard.
Right,
Well, for me, that was my A+ race. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And I'll give you my reasons why. I'm not just gonna tell you A+ and move on. So I think that warrants me explaining myself a little bit. So what do you always want to see? in racing? Passing, right? You want to see passing.
Passing, beating, and
You want
banging.
to see passing for the lead, right?
Mhm.
We had 18 lead changes among 7 drivers.
Yep.
We had a great 3-car battle with Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex, and then Chase Elliott coming up through the field in the last like 25 laps or so. You had comers and goers all race long. You had
all day
the
long.
big one,
Different guys all day long too.
You had the big one 2 weeks early. That's
Yeah.
usually reserved for Talladega, but we had it at Martinsville.
I couldn't believe that. The big one and Martinsville are 2 words you really don't hear go together in NASCAR, but sure enough, we saw it.
Yep, we had, as we already alluded to, we had tempers boiling over, and even in the Cup race, we had tempers boiling over on a couple different occasions. The most noted one was Daniel Suarez throwing I think that was like an empty water bottle at William Byron.
Now I didn't understand why he did that. I didn't see anything going on between those two during the race.
So a few laps before Suarez wrecked out, Byron moved him. Byron gave him the old bump and run. Byron moved him, and it shuffled
him all the way back.
Daniel Suarez all the way back. And that's why he got caught.
That's why he got stuck in there. Okay, that makes sense.
So he was ticked off at him, and
I was gonna say because
it was a blatant shove.
Yeah,
like it wasn't William Byron, like it was on a restart. They were going into the turn real hot, and like he did he put him 3 wide and bumped it? They weren't 3 wide. That's why I don't know if to me it just looked like William Byron expected Suarez to drive into the turn a lot harder on just the restart, and he didn't. He kind of checked up, and William, he did get into the back room and kicked him out of line.
Okay. I was wondering because I saw the water bottle being thrown, and I was like, oh, I could have swore William Byron was like way up front at the time. I don't think he was involved at all in that wreck. Like, I just didn't get it. But now it makes sense.
But that was my A+. I don't know if I officially gave my answer, but it was an A+ for me. That was an incredible race. And like I always say, man, short tracks, this is the kind of racing it produces.
Yeah.
Give me more of them. And I was very happy with the product, both with the Xfinity and Cup races this weekend. A little too long. It was a little too long. 500 laps spread over 4 hours, a little over 4 hours, a little too long. But if that's the only thing I'm complaining about this weekend, we're okay. So, yeah.
How about you, Eric? What do you think about the race?
Almost word for word, Matt, to be honest. I had the same thing here. As I'm going through my thoughts of the race, I'm like, what am I going to give this? I'm like, at first I was going to give it like a B++. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just for the pure fact that like, damn, the length of it, the red flag, the amount of caution laps. I don't mind cautions. Amount of caution laps. There's 102 laps.
102 yellow flag laps.
Yeah, so
that's
like
1/5 of the race.
I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a part of it, but what was your race grade? What was the grade of the actual racing? When they were racing, what's the grade? I'm trying not to put the weather into account to give it the race grade, you know? So after I was thinking, I'm like, I'm just gonna give it a straight up A. Like that was just an A. Like everything you said, it had lead changes. It had, battles all throughout the field, and not just battles. To me, at Martinsville, they were running 3 wide in like the 14th to 20th position, not just for a corner, not just for a lap.
Like
they
multiple
were 3
laps.
wide,
oh yeah,
multiple laps without incident. And like that was just blowing my mind. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I was yelling at my TV. I go, "You fucking cocksucker!" I'm like, "You're gonna wreck. You're gonna take out so many good people."
Yeah.
Because he got shuffled out. He got put 3 wide, but he did not want to give it up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at some point in time, you got to give that up.
Yeah.
You're gonna do something stupid and take out a good car with a tire rub because you're just being an idiot.
Yeah.
Take your loss. You got bumped out. That's short track racing.
That's Ricky Stenhouse though too. That is his.
He's aggressive.
Yeah,
he's aggressive.
Yeah, he's aggressive, and I like his aggressiveness. But he seems to this year have that under control, and
where he's not pushing the envelope too far.
Yeah, he picks and chooses when to be aggressive this year versus years in the past, where his rides weren't even that great back then. So he was trying to get everything out of it. But man, him going 3 wide, that was exciting. And like you said, the lead changes, it was just it was just overall just what I wanted to see in a race. And I couldn't give it the B. So I had to give it up there and give it the A. And also, I think you touched on it too, man. I didn't want to like kind of repeat what you're saying. I was trying not to like word for word here, but like the comers and goers, I thought was interesting too. Like my driver was part of that field where certain drivers during the race, we talk about how many cautions there were, and you know those cautions, they fell into the lap of some drivers that really helped them out, including Eric Jones at the time, Bubba Wallace, the Logano's, the Newmans, that whole group that were running between 15th and 20th all day long. They caught the cautions perfect, that they started up front, and the whole top 10 changed. And unfortunately, Eric's car was never that good to be up there. He had no business being up there. He restarted 8th the one time, immediately within 10 laps was in like 20th again, you know. But it helped out the Newmans of the world, the Logano's, to get back up there, that track position. So you had comers and goers. You had the lead. Everything about that, it was good besides the longevity of it and the rain delays. Other than that, I could agree with you, man. I'm going to give it an A.
That was the kind of race that that like if you're trying to get into the sport, or if you have friends that are trying to get into the sport, you show them that race, and you tell them, you know, if you don't like this race, if you don't get something out of this race, then just NASCAR is not for you, because it had everything. Sorry, I know Whitey, you're up, but I just wanted to say that.
No, that's all right. And to your point, like that's the kind of like first race you want to take somebody to get them hooked into NASCAR, because you see that beating, banging action. You see people coming up and down. Like you said, the comers and goers, Joey Logano was in the front in the beginning, in the back to the front. Like they were all moving all over the place. And it made it really interesting. Like you said, Eric, 18 lead changes, 7 different drivers. And you know what? I feel like during this race, you start to see who is going to be the top performers, at least in the beginning of the season. And, you know, some of them we've already seen. You know, William Byron running up front a whole lot yesterday. You know, Ryan Blaney already won a race. He was running up front. Even Alex Bowman, I was impressed by Alex Bowman. He was running really well. Probably the best he's ran in a couple weeks. And
Christopher Bell was coming up through the field too.
Oh yeah,
he was running really good.
So you want to know what? As I was watching it, I was like, oh, this is like a B race, you know. The more I sat on it, the more I thought about it. I can't give it quite an A. I'm going to say it's an A minus, kind of for some reasons you alluded to. I mean, we had 102 laps of yellow flags, and a lot of those cautions were caused by the same guys. I mean, Kyle Busch, I know he finished in the top 10 yesterday, but he started 3 cautions. You know, Cody Ware caused 3 cautions. Yeah, I thought
that was they found nothing. Like after the reporter comes back, after they looked up and down the car, they didn't find anything wrong or broken with it.
He goes, something broke
about a spring or something. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, he goes, something broke. Yeah, he broke loose. Even Clint Boyer and Jeff Gordon in the booth kind of alluded to like, there's some little suspect about that one.
You could hear in their voices when they were saying it that they weren't 100% that like something was wrong.
Exactly. And you know, we had a spin controversy a couple weeks ago in the truck series. Right. Who knows? Maybe old Kyle was looking for that yellow flag, and you know, they weren't calling it, so he figured he'd just take a spin. Somebody, I forget who, I want to say someone got in trouble for spinning on purpose.
The Xfinity race. It was it Davison?
Was it?
I don't know. No. Oh God, they talked about it all morning long on the morning drive.
Oh, I wasn't paying attention.
But yeah, one of the Xfinity guys did get caught intentionally spinning, and he got in trouble by NASCAR.
So who knows? Maybe Kyle Busch was looking for that yellow, and if he was, I mean, it worked out for him in the long run. He did finish in the top 10 yesterday. So I'm giving it an A minus. I think it was a solid A minus effort for plus the rain delay and everything. I don't like to you know, knock that against the race. There's nothing that you can't stop Mother Nature. I mean, the Masters was delayed on Saturday. I believe WrestleMania had a rain delay over the weekend. I didn't even realize it was WrestleMania
Dude,
weekend.
how about this? The New York Knicks who play basketball inside had
Yeah.
a rain delay. They had a rain delay. I guess the roof
It
was
was
leaking or
leaking?
something, and they
Oh
had
my
they had to
God.
they so let's stop dragging NASCAR, not us, but
Yeah.
the stupid fans in
like
general. And
NASCAR
I have
Twitter,
something.
just relax.
Yeah, I have something for them in a little bit with my checkers and wreckers, but I
Well,
think everyone needs to relax.
yeah, let's jump into the checker.
Even Chase is getting upset.
Yeah, the dog's barking in the corner. He's like, "You guys are ridiculous. It's rain. It happens, you know. It rains in Virginia on Saturday. We get the rain on Sunday in Pennsylvania. That's how it works."
Right.
Speaking of checkers and wreckers, you want to jump right into them. We'll start with Daytona Ron, since I think Matt is dealing with the puppy Chase over there.
All right. I have a pretty not weird checkers. My checkers this week, it's going to both Martin Truex Jr. and Denny Hamlin for the clean
Keeping it
racing
clean.
at the end, keeping it clean between teammates, keeping it clean just between two, top of the sport competitors.
Yeah.
And, when Martin got out of that car and his interview, you could tell they've had some run-ins in the past, being teammates where some questionable moves on the racetrack. And,
Oh yeah.
you heard Martin say, coach is going to be happy. We came away with a win, 1-2.
Cars are
both
clean.
cars are fine.
Yep.
So, any other, I don't know, because you see the Joey Logano he has no problem blocking Ryan Blaney.
Well, that's why
how many times have Brad and Joey taken each other out?
Yeah.
I was just very impressed with Martin and hey, if you don't have the car to pass me, if you can't find a way to get around me, then you don't deserve to be in first. Find a way to beat me. Take my line away. Try to, overdrive a turn to make my line get out. Did it the right way. He raced around to take the lead away, all clean. And those laps, especially at Martinsville, when you are literally bumper to bumper, door to door, all the way around that racetrack, to not have an incident and be battling for a win amongst teammates, I just thought that was impressive. And with all the fighting and the bickering and this and that, it was refreshing to see two teammates just hard racing and battling it out to the end. So I give my checkers to MTJ and Hamlin for just keeping it clean at the end.
I agree. I think they did a great job keeping their cars clean as teammates. I could see in the last few laps, though, if you really do have a faster car, kind of giving the chrome horn to your teammate, maybe. But like you allude to,
once, twice, maybe three times, but okay, at that point in time, I think most drivers know you get bumped a couple times.
Yeah,
it's going to be an acceptable, bump and run.
Yeah,
especially with Denny not having that win yet.
I understand that.
Would we be able to hold it against him if
Absolutely
he did
not.
move MTJ out of the way? So yeah.
But
I think that he just knows his win's coming though too. So I think he's close. His average
who knows?
is
It could come this weekend in Richmond.
So, very well. Yeah, very well.
Denny Hamlin's a great short track racer. So but like you allude to, Team Penske, that was something I noticed early on in the race. Ryan Blaney had the faster car and Joey Logano just putting the blocks on him, just giving him a hard time. I'm thinking well, this is why no one likes you. That's your own teammate, and you're not giving him an inch. And there's still 300 laps to go.
Down the Larson, if Joey needs a break, he's not going to get it from Blaney.
No.
He needs. He's about to go a lap down. You think Blaney's going to remember what happened in Martinsville?
Absolutely.
I think so.
Absolutely.
You even had Larson and Chase battling it out super clean towards the end of the race too. And you don't see that with other teams like you do with Penske. And I don't know what it is there, whether it's just these three big personalities that are completely different or what have you. But doesn't seem like they're gelling too well over there.
Yeah, definitely some awkward bad blood out on the track between teammates this past weekend, of course, with Penske and then Rick Ware Racing in the back. Still not sure what Cody Ware was doing to James Davison to call that first caution on Saturday night. We'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. But Eric, what was your records for the weekend?
So my records ties into kind of what we were just talking about. And, it's, I attribute it to like the NFL. My record is going to be like kind of like the kickers in the NFL. They're heroes when they make that big kick, right?
Yeah.
They're heroes. Everyone loves them. They raise them up. Yeah, I can't believe game winner. Everything is amazing. But when that kicker misses that chip shot,
they're
and he
calling
blows
for
the
his
game,
life.
get him out of. They're running him out of town with pitchforks.
Yeah.
So, my record is just kind of in that lane where I'm going with Ryan Blaney's pit crew, man.
Yeah.
You just can't do that. I understand it wasn't a championship race, but if it was, they would have easily blown him that race.
Yeah.
And I understand, like, I do think if that doesn't happen, Blaney is winning that race. He had the best car in there. I think before that caution went out, he was going to catch Denny. I think even when the caution flew, he got to Denny's inside of his back bumper. So, like, you just can't do that, man. I understand shit happens, but you gotta be better than that. It's not just one race either. So when I was thinking
they have a
about
history kind of like just bad either pit calls from Todd Gordon. Of course, last year that was a new crew chief for him and everything. But yeah, just making the wrong call, maybe breaking a stem off of a tire and then having to come back in, loose lug nuts, just those simple little errors on pit road can really change the complexion of your race.
Look at Chase's crew last year.
That's what I was going to bring up. How many times
it was at
Martinsville?
Too.
How many times do they show that? Your pit crew he was well aware to know the rules to reset himself before Chase got into the pit box, and that one move alone got him into the championship race. Yeah, exactly. And like you said, Eric, this wasn't a playoff race, but every point matters. And
it wasn't just this race though. So like, if he wins, right? Let's say that doesn't happen. He doesn't leave with the gun.
Yeah.
And he comes out there, he wins that race. Winning is momentum. Momentum is everything in the sport of NASCAR. You win, like that changes your game plan. That could make or break your next couple races.
Yeah.
And like, I just think when you win that race, it changes everything for that team and like the confidence you need. And I just think it just goes more into just that one race, what that moment did. Because if it goes the other way, there's a lot more benefits to it, And then it could be like, just like Kevin Harvick a few years ago, Blaney didn't come out and call his pit crew out, but he did kind of hint that, that was kind of something that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
He worded it nicely. But Harvick, after so many of those incidents, he kind of opened up about it, and he called them right out on it.
Oh, yeah. And like you said with the momentum thing, like, not only is it just important morally, the whole team rallies behind that, but in a day where we're not qualifying now, your starting position starts because of your finishing, your fastest lap time, and your owner's points and all that stuff. Like, if you have a bad finish one race, that could set you on a spiral downhill. Just like finishing first and getting the pole the next race can set your momentum going like that. So, yeah, late mistakes on pit road. I mean, we've seen it all season with different drivers. I mean, Daniel Suarez, my guy Tyler Reddick's had a lot of pit road issues, things that just ruin the race. I mean, Kyle Larson at Atlanta, right? Phoenix, everyone was getting pit road penalties at Phoenix. So like, that just changes
that weird pit road that Phoenix has.
It just changes the complexity of the race. And you don't want to see at the top level in NASCAR. Of course, I'm not the one with the air gun either. So, it's hard to judge. Matt, what was your checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
So my checkers is going to Whitey. You talked about it earlier. You mentioned it, that Augusta, for the Masters was rained out. There was a weather delay, like an hour and 18-minute weather delay on Saturday. And the NASCAR writers on Twitter took that time to kind of throw a jab at all this is in my words, not theirs, all the idiotic people, NASCAR fans that want to complain about Mother Nature, as if anybody in the industry has anything that they could do about Mother Nature.
Oh yeah.
So like, for example, they were out there writing like, I forget who tweeted this, but like, why don't they have rain clubs in golf, or can't they just put a roof? Can't they just put a roof over Augusta National Golf Course? And they were just kind of mocking the morons that are
What's
out there.
hearts over the whole entire course?
Yeah. So I thought that was super funny. They took a moment there to kind of give a jab back to the idiots that they have to hear about on Twitter all the time. It was comical. And then my wreckers actually was going to be Blaney's crew with the pick gun. So I'm actually gonna call an audible here, and I'm going to wreck Joey Logano. And we talked about it just now, and it kind of made me think, like, dude, you don't have to have friends in NASCAR, but you do have to have people that are willing to throw you a bone every once in a while. I guess it's the best way to say it.
You have to have the respect.
Yes.
You have to have that respect on the racetrack. Like, I don't like you, but if you race me clean, I'm going to race you clean.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have that.
Yes, he does not have that, and it's bit him in the ass before. I mean, all Matt Kenseth wrecking him, what was that, 4 or 5 years ago at Martinsville?
Yeah.
Or just like you said, Whitey, Blaney's going to remember that. He's not going to give him that benefit when he's about to lap him sometime down the road. And those it could
happen at Talladega.
Those are little moments.
Logano loves to block.
Season. Yeah, oh yeah, those are little moments throughout a season where you're not getting, the wave around because you got lapped or whatever, what have you. You're not getting let in at Talladega or Daytona. You're not getting let in because, these people don't want to race with you. Those are little moments that add up, and they eventually will bite you in the ass. And Joey Logano, like he doesn't have the respect. I shared with you guys, I think it was between, the last time we recorded and now, that meme I saw on Twitter comparing Joey Logano to, it was Kyle Petty comparing Joey Logano to Dale Earnhardt, and I took that personally because one thing Dale Earnhardt had was the respect of every driver in that garage,
true.
and Joey doesn't have that.
No,
and he doesn't just rub the fans the wrong way, but it seems like he's rubbing his competitors the wrong way on the track, and now also his teammates.
Yeah.
It's just gonna bite him. So that was my records for this week.
I will say I read that Kyle Petty article and everything, and I did kind of agree a little bit with him. I think because like Joey Logano is very aggressive on the track. He's somebody you don't want to see in your rearview mirror or in front of you at Talladega. Where the comparison
starts and ends. With Joey Logano and Dale Earnhardt.
But I do see another side of Joey Logano off the track, and it could be the PR side where, he does a lot with charity. He seems to be like a pretty decent family man. But again, he doesn't have any friends at the track because of the way he races on the track. And that's the true difference. Dale Earnhardt was friends with a lot of guys in the Cup garage. He would wreck you, then he would come over to your garage, smile, and go, sorry about that. I didn't mean to do that one. I was just trying to scare you a little bit, like shit like that. He had the charisma to be able to do that. He had the respect of the other competitors.
He'll come out and say it right to your face. I fucked up. I got India. It wasn't. It wasn't intentional. It happened. And what do you want to do about it? We're gonna solve it right now. I'm apologizing, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Logano never owns up to any.
He doesn't.
He just kind of like blows it off. Like,
he's like, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. It's racing, and he goes about his day. But again, like that only gets you so far. Of course he has a championship and all that stuff, but when it comes down to, that championship race, and you're around a guy who, you might have pissed off earlier on in the year. It could be Ryan Blaney. It could be someone else. It could be some random backmarker guy who's pissed, like Cody Ware's temper's flying and he puts you into the wall or something. Like, I don't know what could happen. I know if I was Joey Logano, I wouldn't want to take those risks.
Yeah, and like Whitey, I know you said that he does all that charity work and everything, but so does everybody else. And I'm not questioning his character off the track and away from the sport. I'm sure he's a fine guy away from the track. That's not what I'm talking about. Like, I'm talking about like his career, like his job. Like, this is his job, and part of your job is to kind of gain respect from your other competitors because you're gonna need it. you're going to kind of need that, that free ticket out of jail card.
Absolutely.
And he's not going to have that.
You're going to need friends at Talladega and Daytona,
absolutely. Absolutely. Or in the playoffs, man. I mean, there's going to be times where you need someone to cut you a break, and it's just not going to happen for him.
Do you think?
Can you imagine if Blaney is out? Let's say Blaney's out. He didn't make it to the next round, but Logano did.
Yeah.
And guess what? Logano might need Blaney to move out of the way so he could pass a car.
Yep.
And it might be that 1 point. When you need that 1 point, you're in the playoffs, you need to pass that one car. And guess what, Joey? If that one car is probably half the fucking field by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to make it so hard for you to get that one position because of all of your past history.
Yeah.
He doesn't, I think, and to like the Earnhardt thing, only thing I could think of was Earnhardt found Jeff Gordon and they turned that into a rivalry. So he used his on-track maybe scuffles with Jeff in a way, in like Whitey touched on the PR aspect. I think Joey kind of saw a little bit of that. Hey, I could be the bad guy.
Yeah.
I could be, the next intimidator as far as being that way, but no one ever clung to him to be his rival. Boom, boom, back and forth. Like no one wanted to make any kind of deals like that with Joey. I think he searched for it, but I just think no one ever was like, yeah, I'm gonna go back and forth with you here, Joey. They just hung him out to dry to make him look like just an ass.
Matty Kenseth ended that immediately.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All I know is that's about it for that.
Me too, Kyle Larson. Me too.
I'm gonna be quick with my checkers and wreckers. I thought the race was great all around, but my checkers, something simple as Martin Truex Jr.'s burnout. I thought that was the best burnout I've seen in NASCAR. And usually, I'll be honest, I don't care about the burnout celebration at the end of the race. I kind of miss the days back in the 90s where they would just kind of do a victory lap, maybe do the Polish victory lap and wave. I don't need the burnout every single time. But MTJ gave us a fucking awesome burnout. I swear. My wreckers, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, just all the yellow flags, Cody Ware and other back markers causing cautions, just dragging it out. I mean, Saturday night, the caution was caused by Cody Ware turning his own teammate. And then, of course, the rain took the track and we never got back on. I wonder if we could have made it to the competition caution at least on Saturday night. That old vortex theory that DW used to talk about. He was tweeting about it the other day. He goes, you guys made fun of me about my vortex theory. But if you saw Bristol's dirt race, you saw all that dirt vortexing around that track there. So maybe there is something to it. Maybe we could have kept the rain away all night Saturday night if we kept the caution free early on. Probably not, though. But I just feel like Cody Ware caused 3 or 4 cautions, and it really just slowed the race down.
It even got to a point yesterday. I don't know if you guys caught this, where Cody Ware spun out and they flash over to him, and Mike Joy literally said, just Cody Ware.
Yeah.
It's just Cody Ware.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if he meant to say it or not, but it just came out. It's just Cody Ware, caution's out. And they just kept it moving. And that's just kind of where it is when you're spinning out 3 or 4 times a race. And I think we might get into Cody Ware in a little bit, so I'll save that.
Do you want to talk about now? I mean, I think that's pretty much what I have for checkers and wreckers. Was there anything that really stood out to you guys during the race? I kind of talked about Hendrick just looking really strong. Penske and Gibbs looking really good. Starting to see those guys, kind of the cream rising to the top early on. You're kind of getting an idea who's going to be the big players so far in the beginning of the season. Anything else really stand out to you guys? Oh my God.
Yeah,
Harvick on at the end, but it wasn't. It didn't show with the whole race what he had to deal with.
I mean, does Eric Almirola's luck? Is Eric Almirola's luck ever going to change? I just feel every week he's getting destroyed by somebody.
Bad. It's bad. I told you guys yesterday. I mean, they were all in the 20s at one point, and that happened quick. It seems like the whole organization just kind of dropped off the ledge quick,
real fast.
And I don't know what's going on over there, but
I know the downforce in the wheel wells is a big thing. They were making a lot of downforce, kind of skirting the rules there. And I think I touched on it maybe last week or the week before. You know, that could have been something that a lot of guys last year didn't know to do, and their engineers didn't find it yet. So maybe that's why it was leaps and bounds better than everybody. I'm still not too worried about Kevin Harvick. I mean, like you said, Eric, he did fall to the back for a long time. He made his way back to a top 10 finish. This would be a great season for some other people so far, but yeah, just not the Kevin Harvick we're kind of used to right now.
Not the 9-win Kevin Harvick from a year ago, that's for sure. And that's the most concerning part. If I'm a Stewart Haas fan, is that he had 9 wins last year.
Yeah.
And I know we're only 8 races in, but I mean, he hasn't even been close.
Yeah. Well,
I was impressed with Blaney.
Oh yeah.
Coming back at the end of that race. I know I texted you guys and I'm like, dude, if we get one more caution quick here, he had every chance to come back and, contend for that win at the end there. I know I touched on if his crew doesn't do that, I thought he had the best car and winning chance at the end.
Yeah.
But, man, to run through that field at the end to come home 11th in what, 25, 30 laps or something like that. It was an impressive run through the field at the end of that race for Blaney. So I thought that was impressive. And I happened to notice that towards the end there. And Chase too, I thought he, with those two battling up front, I'm like, can he get there? I think Chase was hoping that, my checkers was going to be my wreckers, because if those two got into it, Chase saw a wide open racetrack in front of him and he could have snuck one in there. And that was a very good possibility, especially with those two racing up there. But I think old ball coach might have had a little talking to his team before that and said, "Hey, let's get it together. We're a team here and race like professionals out there."
Yeah, I think so too.
I tell you what, someone who also had a rough day, just Brad Keselowski. I thought he would be up front in the mix all day long, and just bad luck all around. Just a victim of other people's cautions.
Eric's laughing at me.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm just gonna get into it.
You know what? I feel bad. Now
I was just dying.
Here's the thing. I feel really bad because can I just I apologize to Matt this morning in our text group because I started thinking about like, oh man, me and Eric might have really swayed him into picking Brad Keselowski last week. Like, I don't know if you were actually going to pick him or not. And you want to know what? You couldn't went with your guy Chase, and you would have finished in second. And I just feel
purposely steer clear of Chase, just like I don't, bet on Notre Dame. Like I don't, my heart, I just don't want to put my heart into the gambling aspect of it. But no, I do real research for my picks.
I mean, Brad Keselowski is dynamite on short tracks.
Yeah. Okay. So
he had the best average finish there, didn't he?
Yeah,
Going
man.
into that?
Yeah. Yes. So in 23. Okay.
I'm sorry.
I picked Keselowski last week for everyone who's wondering what the hell's going on right now. and he finished 33rd yesterday. So here's what happened.
Well,
that's not the first pick. I've had
because can we go back to Bristol Dirt when you picked Kyle Larson and he got you 8 points. Yes. This past week you picked Brad Keselowski, he got you 12 points. Just for reference, Martin Truex Jr. got me 56 points, and William Byron got Eric 42 points. So
I'm just having a string of bad luck with my picks.
Yeah.
So and to just defend myself just a little bit, Brad Keselowski going into this Martinsville race had an average finish of 11.2 for his career at Martinsville. He had 2 wins. He's led 891 laps at Martinsville. He's raced 98% of the laps in his career at Martinsville, meaning he never DNFs until yesterday. Was his first DNF at Martinsville. What am I supposed to do with that kind of luck? So
I'm sorry, man.
Myself.
Listen,
it was just too funny. Like when I was watching that race too, I'm just like, oh my God.
Man, I felt so bad.
I thought the same exact thing. I'm like, oh man, like we kind of like, we're busting him about his wife, and I'm like, oh man, like I hope he really wanted to
Was-
go with BK.
Well, because you
I
know what?
wanted him in my fantasy.
I put him in my fantasy. I'm gonna read off my fantasy lineup this past week, but like I put the eggs in the basket with Brad Keselowski. If Matt went first last week, and he took Martin Truex Jr., I was gonna take Brad Keselowski, so I would be in the same boat. So I just felt real guilty watching, you know, Brad's day just fall apart. But this was my fantasy lineup yesterday. So I had Brad Keselowski, of course. I had Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Ryan Newman, Eric Jones, and Matt DiBenedetto in my garage. Now, I put Matt DiBenedetto in the garage after he wrecked out. Well, he wrecked, and he was like running in the back. I put Eric Jones in. By the time the third stage rolled around, that big one happened in the third stage, and it's screwed me all day long. The thing that kills me is I'm in 2 fantasy leagues. I'm in the one with us for money, and then I'm in the morning drive fantasy league. And I usually do the same lineup for both, but then I'll adjust this fantasy league, trying to make sure I get all my picks right and I maximize my chance to win the money. Well, I'm doing better in the TMD league. In fact, I'd be in second in our fantasy league if I just stuck to my gut every single week. So I believed in Brad Keselowski too, Matt. I can't shit on you there. I just felt real guilty.
Here's the deal. So everyone I pick has a shitty week, right?
Yeah.
I'm picking Logano from now on.
You know what? I think that is a great idea.
I'm picking Logano from now on. So if it happens, I'm okay with it.
Well, speaking of fantasy, so Saturday I cleaned my garage. I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch the race out there.
Yeah.
So our buddy Jay came over, and so we're in the garage, and like the race is like literally about to start. They're doing like, you know, start your engines, the whole pregame thing. And Jay goes, oh man, because like I'm looking at my fantasy. He goes, oh man, I didn't set my lineup.
Steph forgot.
And I go, dude, you could still get it in because I checked mine and it wasn't.
You could do it right
yet.
before green flag, I think.
Yeah, so it wasn't locked yet. I go, dude, I think you could get it in. He goes, I don't know if I'm going to do it. So he runs back out to his Jeep, comes back in, sets his lineup, right, and gets it just in time. He hits it.
He dominated.
And he dominated. And that's all because of me. I should have told him. I should have never even let him know. And he fucking dominated because I reminded him to set his lineup. I'm looking at it, you cocksucker. I shouldn't have told you jack shit.
I'm pretty sure he got first yesterday, and he got 266 points, which is a massive day. Good for Jay.
Yeah.
Oh man, good for you, dude. That's a make your weekend. That can make the whole fantasy season right there.
So maybe that was like my karma for the whole Brad K thing. That's
might
the way
have
I
been.
treat.
Might have been.
What I mean? Because I had a decent day going in fantasy as well until Bowman had that incident at the end, and I made a last-minute switch with Keselowski to Logano. I went with a different Penske boy at the end, which was the right call. But I think that was my karma for the whole Brad Keselowski thing.
We'll get to our picks in a little bit during the preview for next week's race at Richmond. But was there anything left for Martinsville you guys want to discuss? I know we teased a little bit about Cody Ware. Matt, you said you're doing some research on Cody Ware.
Yeah. So he has. I was surprised. Be careful here with talking about him.
Yeah. I'm surprised we haven't talked about him in our last place driver segment, which we'll get to in just a minute with Corey LaJoie. But what did you find on Cody Ware?
So he has some stuff in his past, and like I said, I want to be careful talking about it because I don't want to make light of anything that might be going on with him mentally. But he has come out before and said that he has some depression stuff going on with himself. Right. He had a weird string of tweets a couple years ago talking about it. So obviously, you know,
I mean, you can't fault someone for that. Like,
no, never. You know, it happens to a lot of people. I would never ever make light of something like that. But what I will say is, and I guess the back purposely spun out his teammate James Davidson yesterday, and he had some erratic behavior on the track. And he came out and he even tweeted, or I'm sorry, he came on the radio, and I'm gonna read from a tweet here at Ed Loves NASCAR, whoever that guy is.
I was gonna say I have that tweet up here too. I was wondering if you saw it. So
Yeah. So he had he said Cody Ware said over the radio, anytime he's ahead of us talking about Davidson, he's getting turned. I'm not fighting him no more. And then either his crew chief or his spotter told him to cut that out. And then Rick Ware, his father and owner of the team, came on the track and said, "I've heard enough. Stop it, Cody." And so that's kind of odd. Wow. Like I said, just erratic behavior. And so I don't want to have any kind of reckless speculation as to what's going on upstairs in Cody's head. But if the mental stuff is kind of having an effect on him and causing him to be erratic on the racetrack, if that's what's going on, then maybe it's time to step aside for a little bit and get things right, because you don't want to do something that you can't regret later on. So I don't know. That's all I wanted to say about it.
No, that makes a lot of sense, because that was my first reaction too, was just like, what the heck is going on? He's turning his own teammate. Like, that makes no sense at all. Like, why would you do that? And it was a real blatant turn too. So I'm glad you kind of shed a little bit of light. Maybe, I mean, again, like you said, you don't want to speculate on anyone's mental state, but maybe there was just something else going on that maybe we're not aware of. Maybe.
And I think NASCAR would step in at that point in time, just like they would with substance abuse, with the drivers, that had some problems. They'll step in and really say, hey, like, I think you need to take a couple races to really gather your shit and get your shit together pretty much. Yeah. And especially like, his father, like you said, when he comes on and he starts, giving you the lip, you better fix your shit.
And that's the whole thing too. Like, you're driving for your father's race team and you're wrecking one of his cars. Like, I'm sure he's not happy as a team owner, like, that's money out of the family's pocket, essentially. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I thought it was the weirdest thing. So you want to what? I take back some of the jokes from earlier. I hope Cody Ware is doing okay. Maybe tempers are just flaring. It's Martinsville too. People are beating and banging.
Right.
You want to what? Could have been a personal issue. Who knows? Maybe they got into an argument before the race. And he's like, you know what? Fuck you, James Davison. Yeah. This is my team.
It could also be him just running fucking dead last in a shit piece of equipment year after year after year after year, never really going anywhere. And it's just like anything. It could be like any other job out there. Yes, you're a professional NASCAR driver. You show up every Sunday, right? But still, think of it as a normal job. Think of it you're going to work every day, sitting at the same cubicle, doing the same thing every day. You go there, you do your work, you go home. You go there, you do your work, you go home. And if that job you're going to isn't going well for you, and you know that it's coming the next day and the next week for Cody Ware, that could weigh on you too. And he might just be, like you said, frustrated. And there's no better racetrack to let that all come out than at Martinsville short track racing. So
that is true.
And that's why I wanted to, it could be anything. It may not be something going on with his mental state. So that's why I wanted to kind of be careful with it.
Oh, but, yeah, absolutely.
And I hope he's okay. And if there is something going on, just get the help that he needs.
It just seems strange. Like, why would you wreck your own teammate? But again, like we said earlier, Joey Logano was putting the bumper to Ryan Blaney and wouldn't let him pass. So I wouldn't blame Ryan Blaney if he wrecked Joey Logano. So I guess it's all about the situation, really.
Sure.
All right. I alluded to every week, everyone talks about the winner. We like to talk about the last place guy at the Bump and Run podcast. And last place this week was one Corey LaJoie with a DNF after a pit road incident with Tyler Reddick. Matt, you texted me, you go, Tyler just ended Corey LaJoie's day. I'm like, what? I didn't see anything. I saw the clip online. I don't think Tyler's to blame. I think that's the spotter's blame on that one.
That's just a pit road incident.
I mean, if you look at
coming out, it's the tightest pit road we have on the circuit.
And there were three wide in the pits there. Yeah. It just sucks. It ripped off his radiator, ended his day. If you don't know, Corey LaJoie is a third generation talent. Of course, his father was Randy LaJoie, legendary Busch Series driver. Corey's in his third full-time Cup Series and the first with a brand new Spire Motorsports number 7. Having a rough year so far.
He was actually having a good day, though.
He was having a great day. He broke the top 10 at one point.
Yeah.
He was running really well.
Legitimately running in the top 10.
Yeah. Of course, though, Spire Motorsports this year, kind of a new team. They're getting the cars from Ganassi, their engines from Hendrick. We talked about it last week when we were doing our playoff preview, and I really don't know what's going on with Corey LaJoie because the equipment should be there. I mean, they're under the RCR roof, just like Daniel Suarez and Richard Petty Motorsports and Trackhouse Racing. Like, they're all under pretty much the same equipment, and those guys are running pretty decent. Besides the ninth place at Daytona 500, he hasn't finished better than a 27th so far this season. So not a great start to Corey LaJoie's third season in Cup and his first with Spire Motorsports. Hopefully they start to tighten things up. I know they had an engine blow a couple weeks ago. They've been involved in some wrecks. So hopefully, he's a decent plate racer. Maybe he'll do better in a couple weeks at Talladega, or maybe we'll be talking about him again in the last place segment. But that should pretty much wrap up the Blue-Emu Maximum Pain Relief 500 weekend down at Martinsville. We look forward to Richmond, Virginia, the Toyota Owners 400 at Richmond Raceway, 400 laps, 300 miles at the action track this Sunday, 3 p.m. on Fox. And according to Bob Pockrass's math, the top 10 so far unofficially will be Martin Truex Jr. and Denny Hamlin starting on the front row. Easy to predict that one. Chase Elliott and William Byron in row number 2, Joey Logano and Kyle Larson in row number 3. I already know Larson doesn't like Logano from a couple weeks ago over in Atlanta. Like we're saying, you're out there competing with these guys every week. Who knows? Maybe Larson throws the block on Logano at the action track. Blaney and Bell making up the 4th row, and rounding out the top 10, going to be Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch for the Toyota Owners 400. And you guys want to jump into the picks?
No.
Sure. All right. Well, I go first because I was the big winner. Martin Truex Jr. won.
Do you want stats?
Yeah, give us the stats before we make the picks.
Stats?
Maybe it'll change my mind.
You know what? I need them because, like I alluded to you guys earlier via our group chat, I have no idea who I want to take this week. I have a couple in mind, but maybe, Matt, these stats will sway me one way or another because I do have one in my mind that I'm going to go with. But let's hear these stats.
All right.
Before you jump into the stats, I just want to give the points breakdown right quick. So right now I'm in first with 247 points. Eric is in second with 215, and Matt is back 156 points. So this weekend, because I've been so dominant in the picks, I'm going to give you guys a break. I'm going to go with a long shot bet. So you might not want to put money on it. If you do, it might pay off for you. No guarantees, but Matt, get into your stats. I want to see if the driver I'm picking comes up in your stats this week.
Yeah, so like I always do, I go with the last 4 races. Last year's winner was Keselowski. They usually run Richmond twice. Last year they only ran it once because of COVID. They had to shuffle around the schedule.
Yeah, Virginia was being very strict with their COVID, and they got there in the playoffs.
Yes. So the last 4 races, laps led, I will go with Martin Truex Jr., 458, Kyle Busch with 399, and then Brad Keselowski with 379. Everyone else is down in the low hundreds or even double digits, so wasn't worth mentioning.
Okay.
The average finishes inside the top 10 is actually interesting. There's a lot of guys with average finishes inside the top 10 the last 4 races, which means that we're seeing a lot of the same guys run good at Richmond over the past stretch of races here. So we have Martin Truex Jr. with the best average finish of 1.8, Kyle Busch with a 4.2, Kevin Harvick is averaging a 5th place finish. Brad Keselowski with a 5.3, Logano with a 7.5. Denny Hamlin is averaging a 9th place finish. Chase Elliott a 9.3, and I thought it was surprising, Austin Dillon, AD3, with the 9.5 finish there. And Whitey's smiling, so I know where his long shot's going there. I can tell you already.
That was my pick.
And then, so there it is. And then the wins, Martin Truex Jr. out of the last 4, Martin Truex Jr. has 2, and Kyle Busch and Keselowski have 1 each. So, Whitey, go ahead.
So if it was a normal weekend, and we were going to Richmond, and I was not leading the points so heavy. I would have gone with either Martin Truex Jr. again, maybe Brad Keselowski. Of course, he's going to be starting a little further back due to his performance this past week. I think Brad is solid. He could shake it off and at least get a top 5, top 10 finish. But like I said, I'm going with the long shot. Someone I was impressed with last year during the playoffs. Austin Dillon ran really well last year at Richmond before, again, pit road penalty. In fact, he had 2 pit road incidents and still made his way back to the top 10. I have my fingers crossed that RCR is going to be bringing some strong cars. He's going to be starting in the 6th row, I believe in the 11th position. So I'm going with Austin Dillon. I looked back at his other races and he's had, floated around the top 10. I'm just feeling really good. I liked his performance this past weekend at Martinsville. I thought he was running really well in the beginning of the race. Tyler Reddick had some great long run speed. Of course, just the cautions kind of put a damper on that. So I'm going to be looking at RCR and Austin Dillon this week. If you don't want to put money on him to win, put him to get a top 10. You won't make as much, but it's a little safer of a bet.
Okay. All right.
All right, Eric, you came in second. You had Willie B. He netted you 42 points. So after Matt's stats, where do you think you're going?
Well, it didn't really change my mind because a lot of those stats, it actually swayed me to stick with who I was going to pick this week.
Okay.
And so we talk about all these stats at these short tracks, and Martin Truex Jr. won 3 out of the last 4, and here 2 out of the last 3, and how good Denny Hamlin is at these short tracks. And when you talk about these guys, you talk about one organization, Joe Gibbs Racing.
Yeah.
I talked highly on Hendrick. I picked Hendrick, last week with Willie B and how well he's running and Larson running. But I think the short track program, right now belongs to Joe Gibbs Racing. I think they are dominating the short tracks as of late, and it could be an easy one to pick MTJ or Denny Hamlin because they're obviously dominating the short tracks in the last couple races here as well. But
I know where you're going.
I think there's one person that is striving for a win. He battled last week. His car looked like it was beaten and banged. It looked like a modified. And I just think he's going to take all of the stats, all of the data from his teammates because they do work well as teammates over there at Joe Gibbs Racing. And I just think that 18 of Kyle Busch, he's just too good here. And I think he's gonna step it up. And everyone that's been talking, ooh, Kyle Busch, what's happening with him? Is he done? Like, when is he going to get that win? And I think this week at Richmond, I think those cobwebs get shaken out and the frustrations between him and his new crew chief are going to go away after they get the win in Richmond. And you'll see Kyle Busch start to turn it on here come the summer.
I think that's a great pick. I mean, we saw him in the back at Martinsville. He worked his way up to a top 10 finish. He'll be starting off in P10 on Sunday. I think Kyle Busch is a good shot to win, especially like you said, Joe Gibbs Racing has been really dominant at these short tracks lately. Matt, who is your pick for the Richmond weekend?
I'm sorry to do this to the hometown guy because whenever I pick someone, they have a shitty day.
Yeah.
But we talked about it earlier. Denny's due. He's hungry. He's going to win a race. And then once he gets started, the floodgates are going to open.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to go with Denny. I hope this is the week I get it turned around. But I got to go with Denny Hamlin. I think he's going to win hometown track. He loves it there. He's my pick to win.
I think that's a very safe pick because, of course, Denny Hamlin running the most consistent of any driver so far this season, just still hasn't gotten that W. And I think he has a really great shot to do it at the action track in Richmond, Virginia. Of course, to recap the playoffs real quick, we got Michael McDowell, Christopher Bell, William Byron, Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr. with 2 wins on the season, young Ryan Blaney, and Joey Logano making up your guaranteed playoff drivers so far. Now that you've guys seen Martin Truex Jr. win a second race, do you think we're still gonna be able to touch 16 different drivers for the playoffs, or do you think we'll start seeing more of the same players start to win these races?
My thoughts on this are like a roller coaster. Like I go up and down with it. I know just last week, we touched on it pretty in depth about how it's super possible to get 16 or more drivers, but I think the cream is going to start rising to the top here. I think that we're going to start seeing the guys, the normal guys who usually win these races. I think we're just going to start seeing it. They've gotten settled into the schedule here. We're going to start seeing a lot of the tracks that we're used to seeing. I think we're going to see a run on guys like those, that list of expected drivers that I went over last week. I think we're going to see a run on those guys. I think we're going to top out, 13, 14 different winners this year.
I think so. But you want to what? 14 different winners, 13 different winners. It's still going to be an exciting cutoff later on in the season. Should shape up for a great pre-playoff run, when especially I can't wait for that Daytona race as a cutoff race. I think that was the greatest thing that NASCAR could have done. I know in the future we'll discuss in the Pick a Lane segment super speedways. I know one of us not as enamored with super speedways as they once were. We'll discuss that in weeks to come, especially for that Talladega preview. It's been a short episode so far, fitting since we're at the short track of Martinsville. I do have one Pick a Lane. There was no news. If you missed any of the news over the last week, we covered a lot of it in the previous episode. Not much has happened since then. So if you didn't listen to the last Bumper Run podcast, check it out now. Bump the letter N runpod.com. Do you guys want to do that single Pick a Lane topic I have, or do you want to save it for another day?
I'm down. We could hit a Pick a Lane segment up.
All right.
Hit a Pick a Lane segment. I'm in.
All right, so the choose cone is out, gentlemen. It's time to pick a lane. We have 4 crown jewel races. Of course, they are the Daytona 500, the Southern 500, the Brickyard 400, and the Coca-Cola 600. Those are the crown jewels that everyone talks about in NASCAR. Now, my whole deal is the Brickyard 400 was on the Indy Oval. We're switching to the Indy Road Course. Is it time to remove that as a crown jewel and maybe add Martinsville? I mean, the Martinsville Spring Race, 500 laps. It's a longer race. It's one of the only short tracks left on the circuit, and it is the oldest track we go to, the only track we've been going to every year since NASCAR's inception. Do you think it's time to maybe drop the Brickyard, add that as a crown jewel, or maybe do we do 5 crown jewels? Do you get one for every finger?
So I guess I'll go. So in the spirit of I'm a huge Masters fan. In the spirit of golf, they have the 4 majors. So yeah. I don't think we need to add a 5th. We don't call them majors in NASCAR. We call them our crown jewel events. Yeah. So a couple of things that you hit on there. You asked, do we need to take the Brickyard out? Here's my short answer to that. If they're changing up the format because the previous one wasn't working, then it should not be a crown jewel race. Yeah. Right? They went from the oval to the oval to the road course. Mm-hmm. If they need to change up that type of driving, that style of driving on that track, then it shouldn't be a crown jewel race. That just plain and simple. The Indy track, the Brickyard, that's Indy cars. Yeah.
That's awesome their thing. The Indianapolis 500, huge event for Indy cars. Like that is their main event.
That's their Daytona 500.
And I always felt weird that NASCAR was trying to ride those coattails. Like, just go with the Brickyard. Just enjoy it. It doesn't have to be a crown jewel, because like it really never felt like a crown jewel to me. I remember when we first went there in the 90s. I was a little kid. I was like, oh, that was cool. I don't know.
The racing has never really been that great at Indy either on the NASCAR side.
I tell you what, I'm glad it's not a cutoff race anymore before the playoffs too.
Yeah, it was a lackluster event, but But like I said, if you need to change the format of the racing there, then it should not be a crown jewel event. Like I said, I get the history of it, but that's IndyCar's history. If we want to add a fourth crown jewel event, why don't we talk about NASCAR history?
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about one of the most historic tracks that we have on the circuit? Why don't we talk about Bristol Motor Speedway?
I didn't think you were going to say that.
That fall race is...
That's exactly what I was going to go with. It's, to me, I think, Matt, I agree 100%. Bristol, to me, I mean, it changed. Going there for that night race, it changed me. It just changed me as a NASCAR fan. It changed me, like seeing the live events, like as far as races go for me. I've been to, a bunch of different tracks already. And to me, Bristol, whenever a race, and when we weren't even in the racetrack. We literally were driving up to the racetrack. And my jaw just hit
in the middle of the night.
Chills in the middle of the night, just seeing it lit up, like not even being in there experiencing anything yet. I was blown away.
We were like, it got silent in the truck just because it was just a thing of beauty to see, and it just has that like aura around it. It's the weirdest. It sounds weird for us to like explain it like that, but until you get there and you see it, and Whitey, we will make sure that you get there.
I have to get there, man.
It's unbelievable. So
when you get like a special feeling that comes over you, there's something about that to me that could make that a definite crown jewel for me. I mean, when you first go out and you walk out to those bleachers and you see and you look around you in that Coliseum,
it's like just, Rudy's dad. It's like Rudy's dad. This is the greatest thing these eyes have ever seen.
I'm literally getting chills just talking about it right now.
It's the last great Coliseum.
Literally smell, it's so loud in there, just the rubber. You literally, like, if you go down to the bottom stair, you'll get covered in rubber.
Yeah.
Like, it's such an amazing racetrack. And I could agree with Matt. If there's anything that's going to be, thrown in as a crown jewel for me, man, that Bristol would have to be it. But I do agree with you, though, too, Whitey. History, as Matt, alluded to, let's talk about NASCAR history.
Yeah.
And like you said, Martinsville, always been going there.
Yeah.
There's
72
no other track,
years.
And it is one of those short tracks, which if you don't like short tracks, then you're just not a NASCAR fan, in my opinion. But you have to respect Martinsville as a possible crown jewel in my eyes as well.
Absolutely.
Hey,
absolutely. Yeah, there was between those two, there's no wrong answer.
Hey,
no, yeah, I agree.
I'm okay with either one. Like I said, I wouldn't mind 5 crown jewels. Kind of like the the Hand of Thanos for Avengers and stuff. I don't know. I saw those movies once. They were okay.
You're gonna have half our friend group.
Half our friends. I enjoyed them. I just I don't remember all the details as much as I know my NASCAR details. But I think that's gonna do it for this week's Bump and Run podcast. For Matt, the Statman Reilly, for Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White. This weekend, we got the Toyota Owners 400 at Richmond Raceway, 400 laps, 300 miles at the Action Track, 3 p.m. on Fox, and we'll break it all down Monday night. We'll talk to you then.